I mean, there really are no words, and she wanted to provide context. There is no context. I literally read your word for word, and you're being a hypocrite coming in here, speaking out against hate speech, speaking out against violent rhetoric, and yet you are the very person who's using hate speech and violent rhetoric to put people's lives in danger.
Greg.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious.
She really showed they. You know, I love moments like these. It's great. It's like when you were a kid, you used to watch Happy Days, and Fonzie would come in and beat up the bully. Or, I don't know, Steve Austin would beat Bigfoot. It's like a great TV moment where the person who deserves it has it coming. There are, like, terrible people at these hearings. She's not even the worst. I mean, there were people there that are saying parents should not be told if their kids are seeking transition or I mean, this is a cult. It's a cult, and also, I think, you know, I think she's a congresswoman, right?
Yeah.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, she makes a great point. By attempting to censor anybody by labeling language of incitement, it can be used on everybody and on anybody because it's so open to interpretation, the way misinformation, disinformation, and especially hate speech is. We've seen this broaden. You think this activist might learn from this? No, she blocked Mace. She blocked her on Twitter. That was the lesson. She didn't want to hear from her again. She also blocked me. She blocked. I think she blocked just everybody from Fox. It just shows you that she prefers to live in her own bubble. She prefers to live her own cognitive bias. So when she commits the crime of saying, "I hope Katie Pavlich gets attacked," she doesn't see that the same way that somebody will say you should get attacked because she's in a bubble. She can't see. She only sees the crime when the person she hates is doing it.
Yeah, Jessica, we hear that the threats to democracy are very serious, that all of what goes on Twitter especially needs to be taken seriously, that Elon Musk is allowing for this plethora of hate speech to thrive on the platform. And yet when people like this do it, they think it's okay and there's no recourse for them.
Well, we'll see if there is some recourse. This moment has gone pretty viral, and I think this also speaks to the importance of having representatives on both sides, like a Nancy Mace, who Republicans and Democrats respect, right? This is not a flame-throwing person. This is not someone who uses her language fast and loose, right? This is someone who takes her job very seriously. And that's why that was so effective. And yes, she was on our network, and she also went onto a more liberal network to talk about it. She's someone who takes interviews by anchors of the other party, and that's important. That's how you make your message heard, showing up in places where people wouldn't expect you to be there. So that was something I took away from it. And I think it's interesting because it does mirror, I think it was Twitter Files installment 3 or 4, whatever it was, the debate about whether Donald Trump's tweet was inciting violence, right? And it hinged on who are the American patriots that he's talking to. Is he talking to the guys who stormed the Capitol, or is he just talking to American patriots writ large, right? People who voted for him but are sitting at home in Kentucky minding their own business. And we're going to have to spend a lot more time thinking about what really incites violence. Is it all just what's flat out on the page? Is it how someone interprets it and what they go and do based on it? What kind of intent can we put? Does that woman who was testifying want them to show up at all of their houses?
Well, people did show up at people's houses,
but
including someone who wanted to kill Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and the media also ignored that. Jesse, do you not tweet because you're worried about getting called in front of Congress to testify about something someday?
Johnny tweets. I don't know what he says, but I haven't gotten in trouble so far, so he's doing a great job. This is the liberal logic. If I call a transsexual he, they will say, oh, you're causing violence. But if a transsexual says a mob needs to turn loose at a justice's house and get in their face, that's free speech. And that is BS. And the problem is that argument doesn't get a fair shake in the media. So if you say anything, the media will say you're causing violence. And not only are you causing violence, you're causing violence to the most vulnerable, to those that are most oppressed. And no one wants to cause violence to anybody, and you can't even remember what you said at that point. So it's just another way to censor you, and I will not stand for it.
Way to stand up for free speech, Jesse.
I'm going to stand up.
You're in a mood today.
There was a federal judge, a liberal federal judge, whose son was gunned down, and and her husband was shot as well. And
Yeah,
so there is
horrific.
real violence.
Okay,
Yes,
and so
it
there's
happened
also
to
a
the left.
crime wave because you guys said defund the police.
That's so
Same thing.
not-
All right, we
Gotta go
gotta
to commercial.
go.